Okay, so you're in your maintenance phase and now you have found a security bug. What now? I know people like Matrix. It's very comprehensive and easy to understand. So vulnerability and exploit, those are actually the two counterparts of each other, right? So first of all, this is always a disclaimer I make in my slide deck. If I say this is a vulnerability, I'm going to fix this, it doesn't mean that your system is secure, because it's never secure. So what you want to do is have the most impact in everything that you do, because that's how you get the most out of your time and out of your money. And then, not all vulnerabilities are exploitable. If something has been found in some very old backend system that one developer has access to, should you fix it? Because it is quite enclosed, right? Then, not all vulnerabilities are targeted. Not everything is interesting to attack. You have to put your hacker hat on and think, if I do attack this, what's my gain? And if I gain nothing, would I use it? And yeah, of course no, because they have always it's always an incentive needed to be used as an attack. If they're not going to gain anything, likelihood is very, very low. Then you're kind of here. And then you have to have an approach that's always going to look at the impact and the chance of exploitability. So what you want to fix is most of the time above this diagonal. That are the items you want to fix. And then if you have time, which most developers don't, you're going to attack these quadrants and then lay it here. So that's how you're going to prioritize items. So I went into a lot of theoretical stuff. Now we'll go into a flowchart, because flowcharts are also fun. So you have your scanners running, you found a vulnerability. Okay, now we have to make decisions about it, right? So I explained prioritization and all that, but is it a vulnerability? Can you exploit it, yes or no? That's like a first question you should ask. If it's not, then it's a false positive. You don't have to do anything, and you're lucky. If that's the case, that means that the finding is there. You find it. It's defined. Then you have to make a decision. Do I fix it, or do I leave it as is, using the matrix that I showed you before? If that's the case, you fix it. You make a ticket somewhere on a backlog, hope nobody forgets, and in the end you will have a patch. If that's not the case, you have to explain why. And that's a very important part of this process. If you don't fix a certain aspect, you have to have a good reason for it. You have to be able to tie it into your governance model, because it's not defined there, it's not a priority, something like that, right? If you have the explanation, then you have to decide, do I accept this explanation, yes or no? And if that's not the case, you're automatically going to will fix, because there's no acceptable reason to not fix it. If you do accept that reason, then you're going to risk accept it. That's fine. Security is a balance between taking risk and avoiding risk. And that's also the reason why it's not 100% ever. But at that point, you don't stop. You will keep track of it forever. So the issues from yesterday that weren't an issue might become a very big issue next week. So that's why you always have to keep track of these items. I know that I did an assessment for Maxxton on the security. I did say a lot of things on how to improve. And I think Hanna has some extra information about that. Then I give the word to Hanna.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a bit of how we build up security at Maxxton. First of all, we needed to get knowledge to every employee. So every month, every employee has security training. We have role-based yearly training. For example, if you're a Java developer, you have secure Java development training. And we also have heavy, more advanced training for employees who touch critical systems. And that can be systems such as payment. Then you need to have additional training on top of that again. And this we do to make sure that every employee has a baseline of security knowledge. We have also worked pretty hard to get a security-first culture, as you would say it, starting with open dialogue. We have several groups on Slack, for example, knowledge sharing. We have KPIs on a pretty high level in the organization regarding security of things we want to achieve. Also things we got, for example, from SIG, which we see there we can improve. And we are lucky to have a strong leadership in regards of security. But if you look at security, or at Maxxton, from where it all begins with bits and bytes and code, we have to ensure that it is part of the development phase as well. All developers use standard libraries and frameworks to avoid anything going wrong. They follow secure code policies. And all code which goes from a laptop into a system, even if it's the development environment, has a review of a senior engineer with a security focus. And if you are like me, and most probably are, you don't trust humans fully, because we all make mistakes. So I want to mention a few technical things we do in the pipeline to remove those humans' mistakes. And one of them is a dependency scanner. It's called the PandaBot. So for every repo, every code piece we have in Maxxton, we have a bot which look for vulnerabilities. And it will automatically create a pull request to each team with suggestions on how to fix it. Another thing is a new tool we have added now lately, which is called SAP. And that is a small penetration test in the code review. And so say the code is perfect and everything is good, you still have a likelihood of mean guys or people without knowledge pushing code which hasn't gone through that process into our software and environment. And to avoid that and completely shut the possibility of that happening, we add binary authorization. And that means that even me, with my access, and I have a lot of access, I can't run an untrusted image, which is, if you think of image as a piece of code, into any of our environments. And also bad config, if you look away from the software, but the config itself of the environment, so say production, I am not able to do bad config. I will be blocked instantly, and that's something called a gatekeeper we have on top of that to avoid human mistakes. So we tried the DevSecOps by default, and from other things, it's also infrastructure by code. And that is, say, in the case now that we have a huge DDoS attack, and it's no way our system can handle it. It's crazy. We have a public IP kneeling on the floor. In theory, I can do very few changes, click deploy, and we will have a copy of that system, that infrastructure, up in a different location, for example. And then you run some backups on top, and you get things up again. And also for expansion, say we want a new service called Reservation Service AI 2000. That service will be using default secure configuration. It's no, even if we expand, we don't create new config vulnerability because it's default safe config everything runs on. And with the vulnerability with Asma, also mentioned, we are lucky. Everything we have runs in Google Cloud. So we have Google scanning every single piece of code coming in. And it's stored and logged in a library of Google. And it's matched against Google's own overview of vulnerabilities, which is probably one of the best you can find in the world. Also, as mentioned, you can't take everything. It's always an analysis of the potential impact. Is it a vulnerability which can be reached for someone who shouldn't? And as of now, it is done by the DevOps team at Maxxton. But to be completely honest, tackling vulnerability is a lot of work. It is time consuming, and it's one of the things where we wanted to get more automation in. We wanted to spread, get more knowledge. So what we have planned for Q3 is to move the ownership from vulnerabilities also down to teams. So you have the DevOps, you have the senior engineers sitting having an overview, but since we have a baseline of knowledge with developers from all the training, they're the experts on the service, we are moving the ownership more down to the teams.
And